Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, Dylan talks about how wheat responds to cold temperatures, winter kill, and managing wheat to survive harsh winter conditions. Here's some advice from Joe on when cold weather slows things down to get ahead for planting season. And Lynn talks about making good use of slower days for admin work and farm evaluation, as well as a reminder about preparing your home for cold weather.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have Dylan and Lynn. Ben's off today, so Dylan's going to start it off.
Yeah, so with the cold temperatures that we're facing for the next few days into the weekend, I figured it'd be a good time to talk about our winter wheat and possible some winter kill if our planting conditions weren't the greatest in the fall. We didn't get good growth. Planting depth is such a big thing when we're talking about this. We want to make sure the crown is below the surface when we don't get any snow. Like right now, there's no snow on the ground, just bare cold temperature, so there's no kind of insulation on that. So I've got an article from Nebraska that talks about injury from cold temperatures on wheat, and they've got a graph from that December to kind of beginning of February, kind of our coldest time. When can the wheat tolerate the coldest temperatures? And luckily it's right now, as we know.
It kind of hardens up as we go into winter.
Yeah. So and all the articles I've kind of looked at, the coldest temperatures they've seen is -15. That's the normal temperature without the real feel. So we're getting pretty close to that with the wind chill anyway, up in West Point area. But luckily it's not going to be here for too terribly long. It doesn't look like, maybe through this weekend, and then first part of next week it's going to be back in the 20s and 25. So that's a good thing. So hopefully we won't get as much winter kill. I don't think there's going to be an issue locally, just because we're only going to be in it a few days, and we had a really good fall to get our stand establishments. We got fairly good tillers for what I've seen. Maybe some later stragglers that got planted into November we might be looking into a little bit more, because that's where we didn't get maybe the best stands, the crown under the surface. But there's things we can manage if we do get winter kill, and that comes when green up happens in March timeframe roughly. So if we get a bad tillering, or if we get winter kill, we can do a 2-pass nitrogen program, one at green up, and then right before joint again, before we go in joint later on in April. Seems like a month after, it seems like green up really starts to grow. And with that plan, I would say obviously check all your tiller counts. But if we're seeing any type of winter kill or short pockets of maybe residue got in the way or something, do like 60% of your nitrogen at green up to get those tillers started, because we know that's where our heads are going to come from, is the tillers. And then if we need to come back later on to finish it out, so it doesn't get too tall and too thick on us, then you do like the rest of your 40% nitrogen shot. We had some guys that got away with maybe some bad stands last year.
Yeah, we had 2 fields that we said tear it up, and because there's not enough out there, and the rain came and kept greening up.
Yeah,
kept looking better.
The weather worked out,
and end up making 100 bushel, right?
Yeah, but looking back, maybe we should have done some different management practices to help us in that instance. Get the tillers out there, expand all our holes to help our weed control, everything on that side of things. So that's something just to keep in mind when you're looking. Don't don't think about it too much over this weekend. You'll be able to tell once spring starts to come, we start to see those warm temperatures. We'll be able to see if we had any winter kill, and hopefully we won't. And I don't see it for happening in a big area footprint.
Yeah, just remember, wheat has 9 lives, and we may use a life up maybe a little bit, but if you plant it 1.5 inches deep, you got your crown protected, and that's one of the critical elements for winter kill. And then of course, if you do get a thin stand, like you said, adjust your nitrogen rates to create more tillers. And I am more worried about ice than I am cold. So the guys down in the ice region where they got a lot of ice, how long that stays around, we've seen more damage over the years from ice than we have just pure cold temperatures.
Yeah, and
like you said, it's something that should be on your mind a little bit, to check those stands as soon as you see green up, starting to occur, which will start occurring in February and move on through into March. So that's when you've got to have that nitrogen on there to pop those tillers.
Yeah, because the crown's so important, because that's where everything starts. That's where the buds start for the tillering and everything. So that's where the starting point is. So if we don't have a good healthy crown come spring, that's when we're going to see these issues.
Yeah, to Joe's point there, to the southern region, they're calling for some ice before some snow. If you happen to be maybe in that transition period where you're going to get snow and no ice, I'm really not concerned, because we know even though our ground's going to be a little bit colder, we get some insulating properties out of the snow, and the ground temperature still isn't that bad.
Yep.
We should be just fine. And we experience it every year. It's the fear of the unknown, but it's incredible the runway that wheat has from late February to April on how much that stand will change, or how much that wheat looks in difference in that time period. So wheat is definitely one you want to play the long game, run the long race, and not get too carried away here in the month of January.
Yep.
Well, I have a few comments to make. And I know it's cold, and when it's cold, that gives you opportunities to, if you don't have livestock, to be inside and do some thinking in the office. And if you do the math, we're roughly 80 to 81 days away from April 15th, and you've got to be ready to go on April 15th, because that's when the optimum yield potential is for both corn and soybeans. So if you minus the weekends, we got 58 days, and that means you better have your seed ordered, and you better get it delivered. I know that nobody likes taking delivery of the seed on the coldest day of the year, but you got to get ready, and there's only so many days, and that includes getting that planter. One of the most important pieces of equipment that you have on your farm, your planter has to be tuned up. I know when we look at stands up in the air in July and August, you can definitely tell when there's any type of planter problems, any row unit problems or anything. So spend the time now to have that planter ready to go. And if you got to take those units in to get them calibrated, now's the time to do it. But obviously you better have all your chemical plants. Use this cold weather to get ahead and get ready for spring, which 58 days away, if you take the weekends out.
Doesn't feel like it today.
No. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, at least from the standpoint of, anytime there's bad weather or bad things happen, there's always something that's positive in it. It's not always negative, And, like I always tell people when it's cold out, I say, mosquitoes aren't bad, today. So you always find some good. So anyhow, I just looking around, and when you have this kind of cold weather, it is a perfect time to slow down, relax, and maybe enjoy a hot drink, especially on one of the coldest days of the year. Cold weather is just Mother Nature's way of saying it's time to snuggle. Okay, and cold weather also seems to make the stars seem a lot brighter if you've ever gone out at night on a cold night. And when the weather is cold, keep a warm heart. That's important. And snowflakes are just kisses from heaven if you really think about it. Winter is just the season of preparation for a beautiful spring. So this is part of the process to get ready for spring. And don't forget, the days will only get longer from here. So that I can really notice it coming to work, that a little more sunshine. So there's a lot of positive things that are going on right now, even though that it is extremely cold. But we have a saying in our office, tough times never last, but tough people do. So hang in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, to piggyback the office work, the only thing that I kind of wanted to contribute today, I saw saw a couple articles. A farmer from New York and Alex Harold, the world record holder for soybeans, was talking about cutting some acres. They're going in and grading farms and cutting some acres. And right now, probably with the way that most leases work, most guys probably are not in that position. But it's definitely a good time to run the numbers again, run some projections, try to figure out your cash flow break evens on certain things, and then evaluate the farms that are looking to be profitable. And the discussion beforehand, my banker hat's kind of coming on, is make sure when you are doing that, when you're evaluating the farms, to not lose sight of what the overall financial well-being. So on certain farms, maybe you're barely breaking even, or maybe just a slight loss, but that contribution margin that it adds to your fixed cost and contributing to that overhead is really important. So yes, you want to look at them individually, but also look at the whole operation and make sure that you don't go from having let's call it $155 an acre machinery repair and maintenance cost, and now you dump all those acres, and then now you have a $200 cost, and maybe you were only losing $5 an acre on that one farm. So monitoring the margin contribution that each of those farms give, as well as their individual cash flow, is extremely important. And then the last one, Firefighter Lynn is coming out here. I just want to remind everyone, this time of year, it's really cold. If you get a lot of snow, make sure you're checking out your vents, your exhaust vents on your, especially those with gas or propane furnaces. Make sure that you're not getting any freezing out there, and they're not freezing shut, and you're getting that exhaust vented out, because we know the dangers of carbon monoxide. It was a topic of conversation at the fire meeting, so I thought it was relevant to everyone to spread that message, is make sure that even though it's going to be really crappy to go outside and look, that stuff covers, especially for our guys down south. They're talking 6 to 10 inches of snow. Make sure that you're checking that out here during this cold period, because
it's something you take for granted. That's a very good point.
Yep, we don't need any headaches and house explosions.
Yes, no, we don't need that. We need everybody ready to go. Anything else to contribute today? Okay, well, we'll get into some of the jokes. I went back to the Joe Sinclair Quality Ag Service vault of jokes, that he sent me, and this one here I thought was kind of interesting. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. Okay. Anyhow, now I don't know about you guys, but did you hear about the invention that lets people see through walls? Really? You haven't heard about it?
No.
You never heard of windows? I want to tell you guys, to think about this. It's hard to find a friend who's smart, caring, loving, sexy, and fun. My advice to you is, don't lose me. And lastly, do you know the only difference between Superman and me is that Superman has supervision, and I unfortunately need supervision.
Yeah, those were pretty good.
Anyhow, thanks for watching today. Take this time in this cold weather to do a little snuggling and do a little planning and be ready for next year. We hope your family's safe and healthy, and we'll see you next week.